Welcome back to the Foundry by Forge College. If you caught our previous explainer, the introduction to Solana AI agents, you know we covered the absolute basics of how an agent actually perceives state on Solana. Well, today we are leveling up. Our topic today is agent architectures and essential components. We're going to take those foundations and build a truly robust framework. Because, let's be real, you need an architecture that doesn't hallucinate and, accidentally drain your entire treasury. So, let's jump right in.
Here's our agenda for today's explainer. We'll start with the agent control loop, look at sensors for perceiving the chain, controllers for making decisions, and actuators for executing actions. Then we'll wrap up with workflow and orchestration, followed by a quick summary and next steps.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the agent control loop. So, what exactly is a layered control loop? Basically, it's a system architecture that divides your agent into three distinct, totally isolated components: sensors, a controller, and actuators. Instead of treating your Solana AI agent like some magical, unpredictable black box, it's way safer to view it as an industrial control loop. I mean, you really wouldn't want the exact same piece of code deciding when to press the big red button and then actually pressing it, right? You need independent safety checks in between.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, sensors, perceiving the chain. Your sensors are literally the eyes and ears of the entire operation. They gather on-chain state using three main data access patterns. You've got polling RPCs, like get account info. You've got website subscriptions for a continuous stream of logs or signatures. And of course, Oracle feeds. Just think of these sensors as taking quick snapshots of data with a timestamp. They snap reality exactly as it is, even if that data is slightly stale or maybe caught in a blockchain fork. Their one and only job is to just observe and report the facts.
Moving right along to Section 3, controllers making the decisions.
Once those sensors collect all that raw data, they package it up and send it straight to the brain of the operation, the controller. But here is an absolutely crucial distinction. You never, ever want your controller spitting out raw, signed transactions directly. Why? Because that mixes your logic directly with execution, and honestly, trying to test that is a complete nightmare. What you want instead is an action descriptor output. This keeps your controller deterministic and highly testable, meaning you can safely run its logic through thousands of scenarios without risking a single token. Let's put a formal definition on that. An action descriptor is a deterministic record of intent. For example, it might say something like, transfer 10 USDC from account X to account Y if the collateral ratio drops below 120%. It's essentially a blueprint. It tells the rest of the system exactly what the controller wants to do and exactly why, well before any actual signing or network execution takes place. Now let's look at Section 4, actuators, executing the actions. If the controller is the brain, the actuators are the hands. This is where the heavy lifting happens. Actuators translate that action descriptor into an executable, signed transaction. They take that perfectly safe blueprint we just talked about, they compute the necessary account metas, select the fee payers, and act as the strict final gatekeeper. Think of the actuator as the bouncer at the club, absolutely ensuring all policies are met before that transaction ever hits the chain. Looking at this grid of components and their typical responsibilities, you can really start to see why this separation of powers is so vital. By isolating the sensors, controller, planner, and actuator, we drastically minimize the blast radius of any given failure. If an RPC node goes down and a sensor gets stale data, yeah, it might pause our system, but it's not going to permanently break the controller's underlying logic or cause model drift. You isolate the failures so a single hiccup doesn't sink the entire ship.
All right, let's roll into Section 5, workflow and orchestration.
Because, let's be honest, individual components are really only as good as the overarching system that connects them. Here is our full workflow, from raw observation to a submitted transaction. We observe with the sensors, filter and aggregate, decide with the controller, plan, apply policy and sign with the actuator, and finally, submit and monitor. Now, step 5, applying policy and signing, is absolutely critical. Giving an AI direct signing power without strict actuator policies in place is basically like handing a toddler a flamethrower. I mean, it's hilarious to picture, but completely terrifying in reality. The actuator is your strict fire safety protocol. Now, to keep this whole assembly line humming safely, the orchestrator uses something called an idempotency key. This is just a unique identifier used to ensure a transaction isn't accidentally duplicated during retries. So if the system hiccups and tries to submit the exact same action twice,
This key basically says, nope, we already did that. It completely saves you from accidentally double executing a trade or a transfer. But that does raise a really important question. What happens if a planned transaction fails due to something like block hash expiry or an RPC timeout? We all know the blockchain loves to throw those transient curveballs at us. So what happens to our agent then? Well, that's exactly where the orchestrator steps in. It automatically implements an exponential backoff, updates the transaction skeleton, and resubmits. So it handles rebalancing the fees, grabs a fresh block hash, and strategically gets your transaction back on track, all without forcing the brain, the controller, to start its whole thought process over again. Let's wrap things up with Section 6, Summary and Next Steps. Let's lock in the critical blueprints we've drafted today. Basically, keep these 3 golden rules front and center. Number 1, always separate perception, decision, and action. Modular design is safe design. Number 2, ensure your controllers emit action descriptors, never raw transactions, so you can actually test them safely. And number 3, actuators must always remain the final gatekeeper for signing. Isolate your private keys safely within that actuator boundary. I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative question. How will your agent perceive the chain without trusting the wrong data? You've got the robust architecture now to handle data safely, but you still need to make sure the data feeding into it is actually reliable. We'll be tackling that exact question in our next explainer on decentralized data interactions. Until then, be sure to visit forge.college to explore more Web3 learning paths. Thanks so much for hanging out with us at the Foundry, and I'll see you in the next one.